guys, today I'm doing my March wrap up. I ended up reading 10 books this month. As expected, I didn't read all of the books in my TBR, but some of them I will be reading next month. Just getting straight into it. The first book that I read this month was Why We Love Dogs, Eat Pigs and Wear Cows by Melanie Joy. So it's kind of, you know, the psychology behind the meat and animal product industries. It reads basically like a really long essay. It's a very, very solid argument. There's not really any room for rebuttal or debate. There are the occasional bits of emotive, anecdotal sort of stuff that I actually skipped over just because I can't take things like that. But at the same time, this book isn't overdone or too pushy. It doesn't give like a bad name to vegans. She says at the end of this that even if you can't commit to being like full vegan, even just eating less meat will make a difference. So I appreciate that she wasn't too like extremist with it. I rated this book 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. I really enjoyed it for what it was. Not my usual thing. It's probably the most like non-fiction book that I've read in a long time. It made me kind of come to some of my own realizations about my own attitudes towards animals, and if this is a topic that you're interested in, I definitely recommend checking it out. The next book I read this month was These Broken Stars by Amy Kaufman and Megan Spooner. It's a sci-fi YA, but don't let that put you off if you're not into sci-fi, because I wasn't either, and I feel like this is a really good starting point in terms of sci-fi. It's about a boy and a girl who are in their teens. They're on a spaceship together that ends up crashing, and they ended up stranded on a planet together, so it's the story of where they go from there. There's dual points of view in this book, so it switches between Tava and Lilac. When one point of view ended and it switched to the next one, it was like a continuation. Storyline was constantly moving forward, which was really great for the pacing. I loved everything about this book, especially the characters. Tava and Lilac, their relationship was great. It developed really naturally. I wanted to give it 5 stars, but I didn't quite like the direction that the book went in the end. It got a little bit weird for me, so I rated it 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. The next book I read was Tonight the Streets Are Ours by Layla Sales. I've got a full review of this book up if you want to hear my thoughts on it. I'll link that below, but I rated it 2 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. It's pretty much about a girl who goes on an adventure for one night in New York to find the writer of a blog that she really enjoys. So yeah. The next book I read was Down the Rabbit Hole by Holly Madison, who was on Girls of the Playboy Mansion or whatever that TV show was. It's her little autobiography of what her life was like during that show. I liked that it only covered the relevant parts of her life. It didn't go all the way back into her childhood. I liked that the whole way through the book she's reflecting kind of in hindsight. She makes some really insightful and intelligent comments on what her life was like. For that reason, you can kind of take away some lessons from this book. It did drag in a couple of bits. It got a little bit dull here and there. I liked Holly Madison as a person. I liked how she wanted to turn all of her bad decisions into good ones. She was, you know, determined to make the best out of a bad situation. And I also just related to how feelings of loneliness and anxiety and stuff can lead you to making like bad decisions and not doing the best thing for yourself. So yeah, I thought this was a really interesting read actually, and I rated it 3.5 out of 5 stars. The next book I read this month, I also have a full review up, which I will link down below. It's The Wrath and the Dawn by Renee Ahdieh, and I rated this 2 out of 5 stars. So yeah, if you want to hear why, that review will be linked down below. The next book I read as a bit of relief after The Wrath and the Dawn was Through the Woods by Emily Carroll. Graphic novels are not my usual genre that I reach for, but I wanted to give this one a go because I've heard good things about it. It's 5 little short stories with an introduction and a conclusion. Funnily, I actually really enjoyed the introduction and the conclusion as well. They were kind of like mini stories within themselves. All of the stories were really creepy. I liked that they were all set in the woods, and the artwork in this is just amazing. I just wanted to show you this one. It's super horrific but super fantastic at the same time, like super creepy but really well done. And then some of the pages are actually creepy but in a beautiful kind of way. Here we go. The colours and everything are just amazing, and I think this is a really beautiful book. So just because it's not my usual thing, it's not really something I'm into, I rated it 3 out of 5 stars, but obviously it was good for what it was. The stories were really creepy and the artwork was amazing. The next book I read was Carry On by Rainbow Rowell. This one I've been looking forward to so much, and it totally lived up to my expectations. It was really witty. I laughed through so much of it. I cried happy tears. Like, it was so good, and so many great things happened that I was crying because I was so happy, which is ridiculous, and that's never happened to me in my life. The relationship between Simon and Baz is amazing, and I really liked that they did points of view from both Baz and from Simon, I felt like you kind of needed to see both sides of their story. I didn't enjoy all of the other points of view. You get points of view from every character in this book, even the most minor of characters, and I just felt like that was unnecessary. It made it a bit boring for me in parts because I just couldn't care about anyone else in the story. I just wanted to hear about Simon and Baz. Even though it's a fantasy novel, it's definitely more of like a contemporary story, so what you're mostly focused on are the relationships and stuff rather than the fantasy elements, although those elements were really good as well. So I rated this 4 out of 5 stars. The next book I read was Second Chance Summer by Morgan Matson. This is a YA contemporary. Contemporary, I've decided, is really not my thing unless it's written by Rainbow Rowell, but the writing style and the setting of this and everything was good. I liked the characters, the relationship especially between Taylor, the main girl in this story, and her father was really lovely. And I really liked that her older brother Warren wasn't your typical older brother that you see in YA. He was very unique and reminded me a bit of my own older brother, so I could relate to that. The storyline for me was a bit flat for most of the duration of this book. There was a lot of suspense leading up to revealing something that happened to Taylor when she was 12. When I was 17, I thought myself as a 12-year-old was a bit silly and ridiculous. You know, you don't take yourself so seriously, I think. So that for me was a bit weird that they put so much emphasis on this thing that she did when she was 12. But yeah, it did pick up at the end and there were some really beautiful moments towards the end. So I rated it 3 out of 5 stars. The next book I read, another much anticipated one, was City of Ashes by Cassandra Clare. I read City of Bones last month and loved it. This one I probably liked even more. I really liked the story. A lot of stuff happens in this book, which is awesome. I rated this 4 out of 5 stars. I can't wait to read the next one. The final book that I read this month was Freddie and Zoe by J.D. Salinger. This is a classic. It's a short story and a novella in one book. I've got a full review of this up as well, so I'll link that down below too. That's all of the books that I read this month. If you've read any of them, let me know in the comments below what you thought, and if you want to read any of them, let me know that as well. Like I said, I've linked those reviews for the ones I did reviews on in the description box if you want to hear more about my thoughts on those, and also I'll link my Goodreads account down below. I review books throughout the month as I go, so if you want to keep up to date with that, add me as a friend on Goodreads or follow my reviews. And I've also linked Instagram and Twitter if you want to follow me on those things as well. That's it for this video, and I will see you with my next one, which will be my April TBR. Yeah. Okay, bye.